What is going on, everybody out there? This is Jake James Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new JJ's One Man Podcast. Hopefully you guys have been doing all right. The podcast is coming to you every single time here on YouTube on the channel. I appreciate you all for the support that you've been showing me. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you leave me a like on this video or this podcast episode. And go ahead and comment down below in the comment section because we're going to have a lot to talk about, okay? I'm up. I got coffee made. I'm ready. I'm strapped here for the podcast because we got to talk about the Game Awards 2023. This whole podcast is going to be devoted to my impressions, my reactions, my overall thoughts about the Game Awards 2023. And there is a lot to talk about, okay? So get comfortable, get your snack, get your drink, get whatever it is that you need, okay? And let me cook over here because there is a lot to get into with this show. I'm happy about some stuff and I'm super pissed off about others. And when I say super pissed off, I mean like I'm not actually mad, but you guys understand what I'm saying. I get a little bit animated here when I talk about some of this stuff. Because there's certain things about the Game Awards last night that I feel like we got to talk about. We got to speak on, or I have to speak on. You guys got to listen, okay? So I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to run through the announcements, or at least the announcements that stood out to me from the Game Awards last night, because there were some good announcements. There were some real good announcements last night. And then we're going to talk about the winners, talk about the nominees, because there's a lot of stuff all over the place with this, right? So first things first, let's get to these actual announcements. There was a number of different games and a number of different projects that were announced from various studios, which is nice to see at the Game Awards last night. And they were scattered throughout the show, you know, in various different places in between some of the awards. All these world premieres, most of them were pretty good. I'll give them that, okay? I'll give them that. So we got stuff like, obviously, the next Monster Hunter Wilds coming in 2025 from Capcom. We all knew this was happening. This was something that was kind of discussed / leaked out a little bit for the last few weeks, I want to say. Because I remember writing about this, you know, not even, again, maybe about a week and change ago that I was actually talking about this. I wrote up a whole article over on .esports that this announcement from Capcom coming at the Game Awards wasn't going to be related to Resident Evil. So it's good to see that finally confirmed. It's nice. It's coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S in 2025, which is nice. We haven't seen much of it, but we'll eventually see more. We also got an announcement of a new Hideo Kojima game, a new Hideo Kojima joint, you say, which is pretty good. Now, it's nothing related to Death Stranding. It's actually a new game that Kojima is going to be working with Jordan Peele on, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty, excited about that. It's called Overdose or OD. We know nothing about it other than that the actors or the people that they got in the game, the models, I'm guessing, look really interesting. Their eyes are a little bit weird, but it's a Hideo Kojima game. It's supposed to be a little bit weird. Even so, we definitely need to see more of that eventually. We also got free God of War Ragnarok DLC, which was awesome to see, which is freaking sweet. That's coming out next week, literally at the time I'm recording this podcast. It's coming out specifically on December 12th, which is nice. It's free DLC for God of War Ragnarok. It's like this roguelike, almost kind of like an arena type of mode where you're going to be just fighting a bunch of enemies. And it's got roguelike tendencies where things are going to be a little bit random, which is called Valhalla. And that sounds sweet. Cannot wait to see that. I definitely want to play it. I'll probably do a video here on the channel of that DLC because you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, I love God of War Ragnarok. That was my game of the year last year. It should have won game of the year, but even so, I felt that the game was phenomenal, and I can't wait to play some more of it. We also got an announcement of Marvel's Blade from Arcane Studios, which to me is surprising because I didn't know Arcane Studios was working on a Marvel project, and this sounds interesting. They do great first-person shooters. They're the guys that made, Dishonored. They also made, what was that game? That was the one about the time that there's two characters in it. It's all about rewinding time or Deathloop. I'm sorry. It's called Deathloop. Not too long ago. And again, I'm looking forward to see what they could do with Blade because that sounds pretty dope. Now, here's the fun announcement, right? The announcement that caught everybody off guard because we thought it was one thing and it turned out to be something completely different. We had Sega coming out here announcing not one, but 5 games that they're working on, and they actually showed a little tidbit of. I'm like, hold on a second. Sega's announcing 5 games? Like, what is going on over there? What is Sega over there drinking in their coffee? And I want some of that because we got 5 games specifically that they showed. We got a new Jet Set Radio, which is Jet Set Radio 3, which looks dope. We got a brand new Golden Axe, which came out of left field, and it looks dope. We got a new Streets of Rage, which also looks dope. And then we got a new Crazy Taxi. And then on top of that, we even got a brand new 2D Shinobi game, which looks like something like Dead Cells. Like, what is going on over there at Sega? Funny enough, right? No actual, like, announcement or reveal of Virtua Fighter. Because remember, everybody that was getting these, like, little, like, I want to say these invitations or these little announcements, there's like a little envelope that said that Sega was going to announce something big at the Game Awards. Clearly, this is big, but everybody thought initially that this was a new Virtua Fighter game because there was talk for a while in the rumor mill that there was either going to be a brand new Virtua Fighter or a remake of Virtua Fighter 2, which anybody knows anything about Virtua Fighter, that's like one of the most legendary fighting games of all time, straight up. And anything Virtua Fighter would have been sweet, but this is far beyond what I thought was going to happen. This was interesting. Take a sip of my coffee for that one because seriously, like, who could, I mean, if you wanted games, well, Sega's like, well, here you go. Here's 5 big ones that it's coming soon. No dates, no like specific release windows or anything. Just know that they're coming, which is fine. I mean, I understand we want dates, we want more gameplay and stuff, but look what we're getting here confirmed. A brand new Jet Set Radio in of itself would have been an announcement, but you got 5 of these classic, iconic, Sega franchises getting brand new games. That's awesome. Now, please, for the love of God, Sega, make them freaking good. Don't make them crappy. Don't make them garbage. Make them phenomenal. If I could get a brand new Golden Axe, that's amazing. A brand new Shinobi, that's amazing. A brand new Streets of Rage, that's amazing. I'll be a happy man. Just make them all good. And then go work on Virtua Fighter when you're done. I'm just saying, okay? Let me know in the comment section down below if you guys love all the announcements that Sega made at the Game Awards, because I think that's a great announcement. That's an awesome thing to see at the Game Awards. I mean, Jeff Keighley had to be giddy, literally, at the awards show, seeing this go down. So there's a couple others that we have in there. We got some No Man's Sky stuff. We got a new, game called Embarks the Finals. Yeah, I think, or it's called the Finals. We also got brand new DLC for Final Fantasy 16. Now, that's always good because we love Final Fantasy 16 out here. We appreciate new DLC. It's called Echoes of the Fallen and the Rising Tide. And I'm looking forward to checking that out. That's coming in spring 2024. Not a lot of details about it, but it seems really interesting, and I definitely want to see more of it. We also got a reveal of Rise of the Ronin, which looks sick. Kind of reminded me a little bit of like a mixture of Onimusha and, Nioh, but like set in feudal Japan and not really with a lot of demon stuff, but looks really awesome. We're getting a lot of samurai stuff lately, which looks pretty good. We also got a brand new trailer for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is pretty much Dragon Ball Tenkaichi. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Tenkaichi games. I'm more of the traditional Budokai games, the more 2D, like traditional fighting game style for Dragon Ball. But I know there's a big fan base for people that love the Tenkaichi games. And this looks cool. It's implementing a lot of the stuff from Dragon Ball Super. So I appreciate that. That's always cool. And it looked dope and it sounded dope. I mean, what more can you really want? Now, this other game from Moon Studios. Moon Studios is over here cooking, and they're making a game called No Rest for the Wicked, which looks super interesting. Okay, Moon Studios are the people that made, Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisp. And those games are beautiful. They look phenomenal. But this one, it's like a Diablo-like RPG or action RPG that seems very, very interesting. Not a lot of it was shown. Again, a little bit more cinematic than anything else, but definitely want to see more of this. It's coming sometime in 2024, maybe Q1. Some places are listing it for, but regardless, looks interesting. Now, another game that got revealed that didn't have a lot of it shown, but a lot of people are comparing it to Mass Effect and stuff. It's called Exodus. It seems really, really interesting as well. It has to deal with time manipulation or at least time passing. It's very sci-fi. It's a role-playing game. Again, not a lot of other stuff known about it other than the enemies are called Celestials, and they seem pretty beast, pretty awesome. So definitely want to see more of that as well. A couple other things that we got announced too, and we're going to run through a few of these so we can actually get to the award winners, okay? We got Kimori, which was Ikumi Nakamura's game that she came out on stage, and she's always sweet to see. Everybody loves her because of her, her giddiness, her bubbliness and stuff. But they showed her game. And no publisher, nothing like that, but it's just like, okay, here, we have a game, we're making it. Now, this could have been to appeal to certain studios to maybe publish it, or certain companies to come out and actually put up money to publish it. Who knows? Who cares? It looks interesting, but not a lot to show. Eventually, hopefully next year, she actually shows some gameplay of that. That'll be really cool. We got a couple other things to run through. Here's another big one that I did not see coming, and a lot of people were pretty happy to see this. Jurassic Park Survival, a first-person shooter that's set in Jurassic Park, and it looks dope. I mean, we got very quick glimpses of gameplay, it seemed like, but if you're putting me on Isla Nublar and you're actually, putting me in a first-person setting and you're going to actually have me running away from dinosaurs, I'm down. That sounds dope. Sounds interesting. It's being made by Saber Interactive. Do we have a time frame of this when it's coming out? No, I don't think we have a date for it yet. But apparently this was a canceled game from way back when, back in the early 2000s, apparently. And hell, it's coming out now. Saber Interactive is making it. I'm down. I mean, I know Saber Interactive for a while, people were saying that they were working on the next, Knights of the Old Republic game, the remake. However, if they're making Jurassic Park right now, I'm in. Like, that sounds really cool. And it looks good. That cinematic trailer looks good. I just definitely need to see more gameplay. I want to see gameplay and I want to see how good it looks. Another, announcement was Visions of Mana, which came out of nowhere. Nobody expected this, but a new Mana game. Anybody that loves Secret of Mana from Square Enix, hell, we're getting a brand new Mana game, and it looks good. It's coming out for PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC next year. No set specific time, but just next year in 2024. And looks cool. Looks very colorful. I definitely want to see more of it. We did get some more stuff of Hellblade, which is nice. Hellblade looks good, but we've seen that game already a couple times, and I just want to play the game. I'm going to play that day one. Okay, it's coming out in 2024. I think the first quarter of 2024, but I'm not sure. But they did say that it's going to be downloadable day one on Games Pass, which is great. And I definitely want to see more of that. I definitely want to play it. The first Hellblade game, if you've never played it before, looks really freaking good. And it's fun. It's interesting. It's short, too. It's not a long game. So if you haven't played it yet, go play it before this sequel comes out because it looks really, really dope. I'm just scrolling through a couple extra announcements here. We did get another game that looks pretty good. It's by the same studio, Motion Twin, that made Dead Cells. It's called Windblown, I believe it is. And it's an action, it looks like a co-op action game that looks pretty interesting as well. Not a lot of it was shown. It did show a little bit of gameplay. It was pretty cool. But again, I need to see more of it. I'm trying to scroll and see anything else that I forgot because there was a couple other announcements, but not everything was like all that important. So yeah, I think I got everything. So those are some of the biggest ones. Like the biggest standouts to me, obviously God of War DLC, obviously Jurassic Park, Exodus looked good. All these different announcements are pretty interesting, but there was a lot there. There was definitely stuff to show for people that were into games, no matter what type of game that you're into. There was definitely things to enjoy. Final Fantasy 16 DLC was another one. But yeah, so those are all the announcements at the Game Awards. And in the comments down below, let me know what was your favorite announcement, your favorite reveal. For me, I definitely think like the biggest one was the Sega reveal of all those games and then showing them, being like, yo, Jet Set Radio 3 is real and it's coming soon. It's like, it's for a lot of people, especially big Sega fans, that's a very, very big deal. That's a very, very big standout. And it was like, yo, I just came off of like what Sega just did. Like, give me a second. Like, don't even tell me the next winner of these awards. Like, give me a second to recoup, right? I remember saying that while I was watching the show. But even so, definitely a good announcement. But tell me some of your favorites down in the comment section because I feel like for this year's Game Awards, we definitely got some great announcements. Previous years, I think there were some bigger ones, I want to say, especially like, for example, the one with, the Persona characters, or the Persona character Joker appearing in Smash Brothers. I feel like that was like a massive, massive announcement. And then the same thing also, I think, also was the new Xbox console. I believe it was the Xbox One. I think it was a while back. That might have been also some of the biggest announcements at the Game Awards. But even so, I feel like this year's awards had some decent ones. But even so, let's get ready to talk about some of these winners, right? Because we got to talk about these, okay? This is where the beef starts up, okay? This is where the problems start, right? Now, we're going to go through every single one of these winners, okay? Some of them I'm going to run through a little fast. Others I'm going to take a little bit more time to talk about. Might get a little bit on a tangent, but even so, there is a lot to talk about with these winners, for better or worse, right? So first things first. Best family game went to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. No surprise there. There was other games in there that could have been a great choice for winners of best family game. I mean, they had like Pikmin 4 in there and stuff, so 2 Nintendo games, but still, Super Mario Bros. Wonder I feel like is the right choice. I felt like it was a good choice overall, right? Now, best art direction went to Alan Wake 2. Now, if I go to the actual nominees, I got to scroll down to like best art direction, okay? Best art direction, the other nominees, even though Alan Wake 2 won for this, there was also Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and Tears of the Kingdom, Legend of Zelda, right? So for me, I would have thought that Hi-Fi Rush would have won this, if not Lies of P, because even though all these games have great art styles, I guess that like a lot of people that were on this voting committee really liked Alan Wake 2 for one reason or another. And I just feel like, I look at Alan Wake 2 and it seems interesting as far as like its style and its direction. But when you're talking about best art direction, something that like really stands out or unique, I don't think this was the right choice of a winner. I feel like Alan Wake 2, there's a little bit of recency bias going on with some of these actual awards, especially with this category and a couple others we'll discuss in a bit. But I would have picked Hi-Fi Rush to win this or Lies of P. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Lies of P because you guys know I'm not a huge fan of the Soulsborne genre or those style of games. But Lies of P definitely had a unique style that looked good, that definitely stood out. Heck, I would have taken Super Mario Bros. Wonder in this category. Not so much Tears of the Kingdom, because I feel like Tears of the Kingdom has already been done as the same exact style as Breath of the Wild from a while back. At least, Super Mario Bros. Wonder has a new look for classic Mario, like 2D Mario. But even so, Alan Wake 2 won this, and I call a little nonsense on that. Best esports player went to Faker. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, honestly, about these esports award categories. That's why they do them all at the beginning of the show. And I understand that some people that do care about esports, I get it. And, that's cool for you. Go enjoy your esports. That's cool. But for the rest of us out here that are more general gaming and not into the esports scene, nobody cares about those awards. No disrespect, no hate, no like slander or nothing, but that's the truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting the esports awards in those categories right before the show. It wasn't even part of the main show. It was actually part of the pre-show with Sydney Goodman. And we like Sydney Goodman out here, but still, it was kind of funny, right? So best action adventure. Okay, here we go. Okay, best action adventure. Here we go, right? So the winner of this one, unsurprisingly, was best action adventure went to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, okay? If you don't remember, some of the other categories were Alan Wake 2, some of the other nominees, Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now, I could be a little bit salty that Star Wars Jedi Survivor didn't win this, but I understand, okay? I've come to accept that there were other games in this category that were going to get the vote, okay? That's my little Star Wars bias, but I get it, okay? I will concede that, right? But Tears of the Kingdom wins this one, and honestly, that's mostly because I feel like a lot of the places that were voting on these awards were going to vote for something like Tears of the Kingdom. They love that game, and I understand the appeal, but I'm not a huge fan of it because I wasn't a huge fan of Breath of the Wild. I get why people, especially Zelda fans, like it, but that's just me. I will still reiterate, and I will still bang on the klaxon saying that Hogwarts Legacy should have been nominated in this category. I still am a little salty about that. I still feel like that team over at Avalanche Studios got really cheated out of a lot of things because of the inherent bias and just the really crappy opinions of some of the places that were voting on this. I've said that many times. I've been on record for saying that, where that team did not deserve the way that they were treated this year. I feel like they should have at least been nominated in this category. I don't know if it would have won with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in this category. We actually could have probably removed Resident Evil 4 as much as people like Resident Evil 4, but it is a remake, in comparison to a lot of the original stuff. And Hogwarts Legacy should have been in this category. Straight up. And I'm not going to stop talking about it. I know some people might not like that, but it's the truth, okay? So best action game. Hey, best action game, I'm kind of pleased with, even though I didn't play this game. Best action game, the winner was Armored Core 4, Fires of Rubicon, okay? So best action adventure was one thing, but best action game is an entirely separate category, which are games much more devoted and kind of like, focus on action. There's no like RPG elements too much in a game like these, or a game category like this, I should say. So the other nominees are interesting because the winner was Armored Core 6, but then we had Dead Island 2, Ghost Runner 2, Hi-Fi Rush, and Remnant 2. If Armored Core 6 wasn't going to take this, I would have given it to either Ghost Runner 2 or Hi-Fi Rush. And I feel like those two would have been much more better picks for me personally. But I'm fine with Armored Core 6 winning this. I'm cool with that. Okay, I feel like that one deservedly won that award. Now, moving on from there, let's go to studio game and direction. Now, here's another one that I have beef with, okay? Best direction, okay? Best direction, you hear me typing, that's because I'm looking at one of these other pages to look at all the nominees as opposed to just the winners, right? So I'm control Fing it, just trying to find different words, right? So best game direction went to Alan Wake 2. Again, I feel like this is another one with recency bias, okay? Because here are the other nominees, right? The other nominees are Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, in no way did I feel that Tears of the Kingdom or Super Mario Bros. Wonder was going to win Best Direction. I would have been a little bit more upset about this category had one of those games won. Because when I think of Best Direction, I think I've said this even on my previous Game Awards related podcasts. Best Direction is like, okay, the cinematography, the way that things are presented, the way that things are kind of like, the pacing of the games, the storytelling and the visuals and the music and everything else working together. That's direction to me. Like when I'm going to play a game and if I'm there like consistently for hours and I'm engrossed and immersed in what this story is, that to me is the telling of like really good direction in a video game. And for me, the game that actually did that for me this year was Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This is the category I would have felt that Spider-Man 2 should have won. Now, I get Alan Wake 2. I know a lot of people that have played this and have said like, oh, the direction of this is amazing. I did not play Alan Wake 2, so I don't know per se. But from what I've seen, in certain gameplay like footage and stuff, and again, not having played the game, it seems like that game seems to be pretty unique in the way that it goes about telling its story and its delivery. So maybe it does something that's absolutely like off the chain and like completely like amazing, mind-blowing. But I still feel like Marvel Spider-Man 2 should have won this. I felt like that was the game with both technically and just like creatively was like the one that really delivered for best game direction. But some people might disagree with me. Let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, because I feel like that's the category it should have won, right? Best studio, I think it's best studio. Some of the categories get a little bit messed up, okay? So, but either way, the other one that's listed here, the best studio, okay, for that was Epic Games for Alan Wake 2. I think it's was Epic Games that also won that for Alan Wake 2, which is fine, which is okay, goes hand in hand. I feel like if anything, Insomniac would have taken that if they also won that same category. So anyway, moving on from there, okay? We got Content Creator of the Year, another category hardly anybody cares about at the Game Awards. It actually used to mean something back in the day, right? However, it doesn't really mean much anymore because even though I know a lot of the nominees actually have a lot of like, huge audiences and huge viewership, big numbers, subscribers and stuff, but some of these people I've never heard of, and some of these people I know other people have never heard of, that they don't engage with that side of the internet. So Content Creator of the Year was Iron Mouse, and that's fine. Everybody else in there, I don't know who they are. Best Narrative, here's the other one too. It goes to Alan Wake 2. Now, Best Narrative, I feel like it is another one that could have gone to a couple different choices. Let me go to the nominees. So for Best Narrative, Alan Wake 2 is another one I feel like this was a little bit of recency bias for some people. I mean, the other nominees in here were Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. I know I saw a couple reaction videos on TikTok and also on Twitter that people were saying like Marvel Spider-Man 2 should have won this, and I get it. I understand that. If I had to really choose like a real contender for this, I would have thought that Baldur's Gate would have won this. Baldur's Gate 3. Now, Alan Wake 2 taking this is interesting because, again, I didn't play it, but some people apparently on the voting committee seem to really like this game for many reasons, but I blame that on recency bias. If I was really going to choose this, I would have said that Baldur's Gate 3 would have won this because Baldur's Gate 3 won a lot, I think, at this show. I'm pretty sure. I think I got to look at a tally for how many they actually walked away with at this year's show, but still, with the way that story plays out in Baldur's Gate 3, I would have thought that would have been a surefire winner, but apparently Alan Wake 2 ends up taking it, okay? So besides that, best role-playing game, unsurprisingly, went to Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, there was no way that any other game in the category of best RPG or best role-playing game was going to walk away with this. It just didn't make any sense to me for some of these other categories, especially with the way that people love Baldur's Gate 3, okay, and Larian Studios. I mean, the other nominees were Final Fantasy 16, Lies of P, Sea of Stars, and Starfield. Unfortunately, okay, Octopath Traveler 2 didn't get nominated for this category, like I've said before in previous episodes, but out of that category, out of all those nominees, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 was almost a given here. Moving on from there, okay, best esports game went to Valorant. Again, unsurprisingly, hardly anybody cares. Best independent game went to Sea of Stars. Now, that's interesting because a lot of people felt that for best independent game, they actually should have nominated Baldur's Gate 3, which I understand, I get, because Baldur's Gate 3 is done by an independent studio. And or at least, that would have been an idea, or at least been something that probably could have had a realistic shot to win that. But it wasn't even nominated, from my understanding. Like, Sea of Stars ended up winning best independent game. And what is it? The other nominees in it was Cocoon, Dave the Diver, Dredge, and Viewfinder. Some of these games I didn't play, and I know that a lot of people really like Dave the Diver. But Dave the Diver, there was all that controversy around it. If it's actually, an independent game because of like the funding that it got from some of the companies that it worked with. So there was a lot of like weirdness about that category. But Sea of Stars makes sense. It's Sabotage Studios. They're the guys that made The Messenger, and a lot of people like Sea of Stars, which is cool. Most anticipated game, unsurprisingly, went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's no way that any of those other games that I would have liked to see win or get some recognition for, most anticipated would have won this. I mean, it's Final Fantasy VII, like, straight up. Like, there's just so many people that love Final Fantasy VII. Anything related to Final Fantasy VII, there's no way anything else is going to get some shine, like, straight up. That's just not going to happen. Right? So Final Fantasy VII wins best most anticipated. For the record, again, my little bias, I would have given it to Star Wars Outlaws, but I digress. I've come to accept that it's not going to get as much love compared to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And for the record, I'm also super excited about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because, again, it's FF7. Now, best community support. Now, best community support, okay, goes to Larian Studios. And I understand why they win this category. Again, I give this more a little bit of the recency bias, or the way that a lot of the outlets and a lot of the voting committee really loves Baldur's Gate and really loves Larian Studios. Because when you look at the nominees, on here, one of which shouldn't even really be on here, we had CD Projekt Red for Cyberpunk 2077. We had Bungie for Destiny 2. We had Square Enix for Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, and Hello Games for No Man's Sky. Now, you know what? I walk that back. Two of these shouldn't be on here. It's Bungie for Destiny 2 and No Man's Sky with Hello Games, right? Those two really shouldn't be on there for best community support. Because when I think best community support, I'm thinking about like constant updates, constant communication, constant stuff that they're giving to their community. Now, I understand why Larian Studios won it, but I would have given this to Square Enix. Straight up. For Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, heck yeah. Because there's so much like content that studio puts out for FF14 online. And there's a ridiculous amount of people that play this game online. For all the new content, all the stuff that they do, the weeklies. I have a friend of mine that plays a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, and he's constantly just on that game talking about it. So definitely I feel like that should have won it, but they gave it to Larian Studios because of Baldur's Gate. Maybe because of the communication from like the early access stuff, but I don't know about that category, right? So Best multiplayer game goes to Baldur's Gate 3 as well. And it's like, hold up a second. Like, what? Best multiplayer? Best multiplayer. You serious right now for Baldur's Gate 3? To me, I call nonsense on that. Real talk. I call nonsense on that. The reason why is because let's look at these other nominees, right? Best multiplayer for Baldur's Gate 3. Get the hell out of here with that. I mean, look at this, right? We got the other nominees are Diablo 4, Party Animals, Street Fighter 6, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Out of all these nominees, Baldur's Gate 3 is not a game I would really play with other people like that. As an RPG, I understand it has multiplayer capabilities, and you could do co-op with Baldur's Gate 3. But compared to these other multiplayer games, like, come on, son. Street Fighter 6, the best fighting game that came out this year, right next to Mortal Kombat 1. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, 4-player co-op, and brand new Mario. And look, even though I didn't play it, Party Animals is a really like fun multiplayer game for a lot of people. Diablo 4 doesn't get it because they have all types of problems over there. But even though, then, I would have taken Diablo 4 winning this over Baldur's Gate 3, to be honest with you. My personal pick would have been Super Mario Bros. Wonder or Street Fighter 6 as far as multiplayer is concerned. Baldur's Gate, nah, son. That's when I call nonsense on. But regardless, though, let's keep it moving, right? Best mobile game went to Honkai Star Rail. I mean, no surprise there. Best mobile game, to be honest. I'm not a huge mobile game fan. I'm not a huge mobile game player. But, as far as mobile games are concerned, Honkai Star Rail is pretty big for a lot of people. I mean, some of the other nominees in this category I feel like could have won. I actually would have thought that Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis would have won this because of how big Final Fantasy VII is and a lot of the stuff related to it. But it also had Monster Hunter Now, Hello Kitty Island Adventure, and Terra Nil. But still, Honkai Star Rail is pretty big for a lot of people, right? So best adaptation. Here we go. Here's another one, okay? Best adaptation, okay? Best adaptation, okay? Best adaptation goes to The Last of Us from HBO, okay? Now, I understand that people love The Last of Us. I understand, okay, that people really love that show, and it has a lot of great stuff going for it. But the one that I felt would have had this, that should have won probably, was the Super Mario Brothers movie. And this is in a category that I feel like has some decent adaptations in here. Like the nominees this year are pretty good. Castlevania Nocturne, Gran Turismo the movie, which was great, Super Mario Brothers the movie, and of course Twisted Metal on Peacock, which was surprisingly fun to watch. Now, I did not think that Castlevania was going to win. I didn't think that Twisted Metal was going to win. Heck, I didn't even think Gran Turismo was going to win. And I like Gran Turismo a lot. I feel like it's out of all these, it's probably the closest to being the most faithful. Okay, compared to like The Last of Us and Super Mario Brothers. But Super Mario Brothers, the movie, was so big and had such a big impact globally. I feel like this winner here, specifically for The Last of Us, is because the voting committee really likes The Last of Us and they really like Naughty Dog and they really like just everything about The Last of Us, the characters, the story. I feel like that's why they did that. And they could make the argument of like, oh, it's the most faithful to the adaptation as an adaptation to the games and all that jazz. Forget about that. Like, honestly, it's because you guys really like The Last of Us. Straight up. Like, even people that I saw, like, reacting to this were like, really? The Mario Brothers movie that was, like, a global sensation? Like, even with freaking Jack Black as Bowser singing Peaches? Like, that didn't do it for you guys? Like, come on. Like, it did it for everybody else out here. But regardless, though, I digress, okay? Now, best player's voice, okay, ended up going to Baldur's Gate 3, right? It was the one that everybody could vote on online over at the Game Awards website. So it was between Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty, Genshin Impact, Spider-Man 2, or Tears of the Kingdom. It ended up going to Baldur's Gate 3, which I found surprising because there was a lot of people that I saw reacting that Spider-Man 2 didn't walk away with any awards this year, which is, we'll get into in just a bit, right? It's just that, to me, that was surprising. Again, Baldur's Gate 3 has a lot of people that like it, especially on the voting committee for a lot of the places that were voting for these winners and stuff, but it doesn't bother me as much as some of those other stuff. Now, before we get to Game of the Year, let me just double check, because I know I'm missing something, because I know I'm missing some of the actual categories here, because specifically for best voice acting, I think we didn't touch on that. Let me get to the actual nominees, because that was one of the first awards that they did, and the best voice acting went to the guy that voiced in in Baldur's Gate 3. What is it? The best voice. Oh, and there's a couple others in here that this other spot doesn't have listed. So before I even get to those, let's go to some of the ones that I missed here. Here, best performance. Here it is. I found it. Okay. Best performance went to Neil Newbon for Baldur's Gate 3. Again, I felt like a lot of people thought that Ben Starr was going to take this for Final Fantasy 16, because let's be real here. Every single one of these nominees did a phenomenal job in their respective games. I mean, you got Ben Starr from Final Fantasy 16. You got Cameron Monaghan from Star Wars Jedi Survivor. You got Idris Elba from Cyberpunk 2077. Melanie Laborde from, Alan Wake 2. And then you got Yuri Lowenthal from Marvel Spider-Man 2. And Neil, for Baldur's Gate 3. So everybody brought their A game. And again, I've come to accept that Star Wars Jedi Survivor wasn't going to win this. I would have given it to my boy Cameron Monaghan, but I digress. I'll concede this, okay? I would have been happy if Ben Starr walked away with this. But they gave it to Neil Newbon for Baldur's Gate 3. And that again, I find like, a lot of the people that are voting on these winners would have given a lot more to the games that they were really resonating with, like specific games that were sweeping a lot of categories. Baldur's Gate 3 being the big one here, okay? I still feel like Ben Starr should have won this, but I'm happy for Neil, okay? Neil earned it. Everybody loves his character in there, and that's fine. It is what it is. Best audio design. So, best audio design, okay, goes to Hi-Fi Rush. Now, this one I thought was surprising because check out these nominees, right? Alan Wake 2, Dead Space, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, and Hi-Fi Rush, right? Hi-Fi Rush wins Best Audio Design specifically because, in my opinion, it's a game based around music, which I'm totally fine with. It's totally cool. I understand why. But the one I would have thought that would have won this category, especially from some of these people that are not voting on these categories, was Dead Space or Resident Evil 4. And it's because I've always said this, right? That audio design usually should go to horror games. They should usually just like give the nod to a horror game because the audio design in those games need to be on point in order for people to be scared. And I felt like Dead Space, the remake, if you've ever played Dead Space yet, go download it on Game Pass because it's out there right now. You can download it for free if you have Game Pass. And that game is phenomenal with all of its sound design stuff. It's amazing. That's something I felt like should have won for best audio design. But I digress. I understand why Hi-Fi Rush won this one, and also keep in mind, this is one of those underdog games that a lot of people really kind of got behind, for one reason or another. So again, you might have not wanted, Hi-Fi Rush to win this, but you got to give it the nod. That one I feel like is still fair. Now, best score in music. Best score in music goes to Final Fantasy 16. Deservedly so, as it should, because the music in that game is on point. It is phenomenal. It is amazing. It is so damn good. The main theme in Final Fantasy 16, that main battle theme with the boss fights, freaking epic. Freaking epic. Better than anything else that I heard throughout this entire year. Better than the music I heard in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. And I love that soundtrack. But man, freaking Masayoshi Soken went to freaking town on that, on that music for Final Fantasy 16. The other nominees for this were Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Hi-Fi Rush, and Tears of the Kingdom. And none of that music compares to what this man was doing in Final Fantasy 16. That man literally was cooking in the studio. It was so freaking good with that music in that game. A couple other categories before we get to Game of the Year. I just want to make sure. Innovation and accessibility. This one I'm going to run through really quick. Forza Motorsport 2 ended up winning. All the games that were nominated for it seems like they had accessibility options. I think maybe Forza has the best one. That's probably why it won like that. And I have no problem with that. That's totally fine. Games for Impact went to Chia. There was a whole bunch of other games that were nominated in there. Again, a lot of games I didn't play, and we got Shuhei Yoshida on stage, which was pretty cool. It's always good to see Shuhei. Best ongoing game. Oh my God. This is the one that really got me mad and got me annoyed. This is where I feel like the Game Awards, the voting committee, got this one wrong, okay? And I saw so many people reacting to this the day afterwards. Like I was looking at the different clips on TikTok and on Twitter and stuff, and everybody agrees with me. Cyberpunk 2077 winning for best ongoing game should have never happened. This game should have never been nominated in that category, straight up. I don't care how much you liked Cyberpunk 2077, how much you like Phantom Liberty and all that jazz. The other nominees in this category would have been far better choices for a winner. Because look, we got Apex Legends, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, Genshin Impact. You mean to tell me that Cyberpunk 2077 wins best ongoing game over all those other titles? Are you serious? Like, let alone the game should have never been nominated for awards, to be honest with you, because of how broken it was when it first launched and all the chaotic stuff that went with that game. I don't even care if you like Phantom Liberty. Heck, I like Idris Elba. We love Idris Elba out here. But still, Cyberpunk 2077 winning best ongoing game? Come on, bro. Come on, son. Like, this is one of those things, like in previous years, there's always that one category at the Game Awards where you get this like surprise winner or surprise list of nominees, and it makes absolutely zero freaking sense. Like completely. Like, how is Cyberpunk going to win over Final Fantasy XIV with all the content and all the updates and all the constant like communication from that studio that has been consistently going on since it first launched with The Realm Reborn? Same thing with Fortnite? You telling me Cyberpunk 2077 wins best ongoing game over Fortnite with as many like collaborations and as many pieces of new content and updates that game gets? You serious right now? Like, Fortnite literally just had a concert with Eminem in it. Like, you're telling me that Cyberpunk wins over that? Genshin Impact is another one. Like, Genshin Impact is huge. They're constantly getting updates. Brand new characters, brand new pieces of content for people's characters. Other stuff that they get from the studio from, what is it? I think it's called Hoyoverse. I think that's the studio's name, and I'm pronouncing it right. You mean to tell me that Cyberpunk wins over Genshin Impact? And don't even get me started on Apex Legends. Apex Legends gets a ton of new content. I saw someone playing Apex Legends earlier this morning and yesterday. A friend of mine that actually streams a lot of Apex Legends. You mean to tell me that that game, Cyberpunk 2077, wins over Apex Legends for best ongoing game? Clearly, whoever was voting on that category did not play any of these other games. That strictly just went with a game that they knew. Straight up. This is probably the worst winner at the Game Awards this year. because it makes absolutely zero sense to me. Absolutely zero. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with me, if you think that I'm correct on this, or if everybody else is justified in being a little bit annoyed at this category. Because I'm telling you, when you look at the rest of these nominees, and you look at Cyberpunk 2077, it feels like one of these things doesn't belong with the rest of them. And it's clearly Cyberpunk, because that is not an ongoing game. That's an RPG, an action RPG, that got a piece of content, a DLC. It's not an ongoing game. It's not a game that people are consistently playing since day one with new content and stuff. Like, what the hell is that? Like, for real. Like, for shame. For absolute freaking shame on there, right? Let me see. What did I forget? Any other categories that didn't go in here? So did we do best independent game? Best independent game went to Cocoon. I'm surprised about that winner best debut indie game. I'm sorry, wrong category. Best debut indie game went to Cocoon. And I would have thought that something like Pizza Tower would have won, because a lot of people love Pizza Tower. Like, they say a lot of high praises of this. I haven't played any of these games, so I mean, it is what it is, but that was surprising to me. So Cocoon won that. I did best mobile game. Best AR VR game went to Resident Evil Village VR mode, which I thought was surprising, because like, you look at some of these other VR AR games, and I would have thought like the committee would have actually voted for one of these, because we got Gran Turismo 7 VR mode, Humanity VR mode, Horizon Call of the Mountain, as well as also Synapse. But I could get why this one won, because Resident Evil Village horror game. Horror games and VR just work together. They're just very, very good overall. So I'm not even mad about that one. Okay. Best fighting game, as it should have gone to, was Street Fighter 6. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of fighting games in general. I mean, we had God of Rock, we had Mortal Kombat 1, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, and Pocket Bravery. The only reason why I would have thought maybe Mortal Kombat 1 would have taken this award is mostly because it came out so recently, but I'm glad that Street Fighter 6 won this one, because I feel like when you compare the two with all of their capabilities and their features and stuff, I feel like as far as fighting games are concerned, Street Fighter 6 is the better game. Even though I feel Mortal Kombat 1 has the better story stuff, the better single player content, when you really get down to it, like, people play fighting games for the multiplayer. They play them for the online capabilities, they play it for the characters, they play it for the updates, and I feel like Street Fighter 6 is the better choice. Best sim and strategy game went to Pikmin 4. This was another category that I felt was weird, because I saw a lot of people complaining that one of the nominees, City Skylines, should have never been on there, because it's only because that game was so broken. And the other nominees, we got Advance Wars 1 and 2, Reboot Camp, which is like a remake, Company of Heroes 3, and Fire Emblem Engage. I haven't played many of these games to really give a judgment on them, so I know Pikmin 4, I've seen Pikmin 4, and it feels like Pikmin 4 was big enough to really garner enough awards and enough votes to win the actual category. Best sports and racing game went to Forza Motorsport. Did I do this one? No, I didn't do this one yet. Forza Motorsport. Makes sense. There wasn't a whole lot of big sports games, or let alone racing games, that people could get behind. Other than this, Forza really is like the big dog when it comes to like racing games right now, outside of Gran Turismo. But Forza, I feel like it makes sense with this one. We did this category, did this category, did this category. I'm like scrolling down a couple of them, skipping over all the esports stuff. Again, nobody really cares about it. So let's talk about Game of the Year. Unsurprisingly, it went to Baldur's Gate 3. You know, I would have thought maybe Marvel Spider-Man 2 would have had a shot at this, but people love Baldur's Gate 3. I think people called this from a mile away, way before the awards actually took place. It just, again, a lot of people like Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think it's a game that really has mass appeal as far as gameplay is concerned. I feel like Marvel Spider-Man 2 should have been the game that would have won this, but I feel like with all the different, like, you know, story stuff, the customization, a lot of the permutations and the branching paths that Baldur's Gate 3 has, I can understand why it wins Game of the Year. And knowing the different places, the outlets, and the people that are voting on these awards, unsurprisingly, Baldur's Gate 3 was going to win this. I mean, all these other games that are nominated for it, Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, all of them are games that people have praised, that have like really given high scores to. Some people say that Starfield should have been in this category, and I disagree, because having played Starfield, I had a lot of issues with it. You know, there were, again, game-breaking bugs and a few things that I've talked about in the past. But as far as like this category of games, if we're just looking at these 6 games, I understand why Baldur's Gate 3 won this, okay? Wasn't my pick, as it usually is every single year at the Game Awards, but I'm fine with it. I'm not as upset as some other people are. I think that as far as the categories go, the best ongoing game category is the one that people should be mad at overall. But either way, those are my thoughts about all the categories, the winners, the announcements at the Game Awards. There is not really much else to discuss about it. There were a few things, and again, like I said, that the only game that I feel like that really got snubbed this year for not being featured in any of the categories as a nomination or given a nomination was Hogwarts Legacy. Some people say Starfield as well, but again, I disagree with that. I feel like out of all the games that came out this year's, Hogwarts Legacy was the game that I feel like should have at least gotten a nomination in a few of these categories, and it just wasn't given that. But that's a discussion again for another time. Outside of that, the rest of the show went pretty well as far as the pacing, as far as the announcements, as far as some of the different people that were on stage. Like, we got to see some cool people on there, like Anthony Mackie. We appreciate Anthony Mackie out here. We love that dude. Same thing with Matthew McConaughey, who's involved with the game. He's doing a voice in. That's pretty dope. We got to see Shuhei Yoshida. We got to see Doug Bowser. All these good people. And all the other individuals that were, again, part of the studios that were winning games and all this other stuff. So overall, a decent to good Game Awards show this year. Wasn't great, wasn't phenomenal, but it was still pretty darn good, and it was enjoyable to watch for what it was. But those are just my thoughts about the Game Awards 2023. Let me know your thoughts about the awards show down below in the comment section. Tell me, did some of your favorite games win this year? Did some of your favorite games that you wanted to see win get snubbed this year? Give me all of your thoughts about the show, some of the announcements. Tell me some of your favorite announcements and all that other stuff related to the show. Share them down below in the comment section. Of course, like I keep mentioning, make sure you leave a like on this video, on this podcast episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Check out all the new videos that have been going up. I've got new YouTube shorts. I got new gameplay videos. I got an announcement for some gaming stuff coming very, very soon. I'm going to be having on the channel, hopefully by next week, and everything else. And don't forget to make sure that you follow me on all my other social media. Follow me on Twitter or X, because I'm constantly posting up on there every single day. Follow me on TikTok. I'm posting up new videos every single day talking about games. I'm probably going to do one for the Game Awards after I record this later today. Follow me on Instagram. I'm constantly posting up new stuff in there. I was just at a screening for the Iron Claw. I got to see that movie way in advance, before release date. So definitely go check out some of my images on there. And of course, follow me on Threads if you're also on Threads. Go show some love on there. I'm always constantly on there, posting like different pictures on there as well. So anyway, that's all I got for you all. Make sure you guys check out all that stuff. Again, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.